surfed them, and by leaving the borders wide open, and we're filling in Oregon with human trafficking, mutilations, and everything else, dividing policies, a mingler, and you got a president that walks so dark in godlessness
Ron,
and history.
Ron, I'm going to ask you something. Hold on, Ron. One, you almost got the bull sugar thing. You got Jim nervous there. I just want to. You may have to send Jim some blood pressure medication. You almost got him there. That was pretty good. But can I ask you a question? I don't mean to be nosy, but I don't make any assumptions. Are you black?
I'm black, Irish, Native American by the Creek and Cherokee nations of Oklahoma. Yes, sir.
So how does that?
I'm American.
Again, I'm not trying to be nosy. I'm asking you. I'm asking you for a reason. How does that make you feel, though, listening to Joe Biden? I'm gonna have to run this second. Falsely, I'm not black. Yeah, please. I'd love to hear it.
He makes me feel like Maxine Waters, who destroyed my neighborhood under the LBJ plan when my family broke up 50 years ago last year.
Man, this Ron, you're a great guest. Mike, sign him up. Man, he's a ball of fire there. That's why I asked. I wasn't trying to be nosy. I'm not black. I'm not going to try to relate to the black experience. It's just him claiming to be a civil rights activist.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Are you a natural leader driven by the desire to make a lasting impact? Is your deepest calling to be an elected official making a real difference? Now, picture yourself with the power to shape the future in St. Louis City. St. Louis needs your leadership now more than ever. The urgency is real. The Republican Party, City of St. Louis can help you file, be your guiding force, and support you during the campaign. Contact stlouisrepublicans.com and step into your destiny.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free, and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. A Washington appeals court raised questions about Donald Trump's claims that he is immune from criminal charges. White House correspondent Greg Clugston with that report.
Trump was in the courtroom as his legal team sought to convince a panel of 3 judges that former presidents should not be prosecuted for actions they took in office. The judges appeared skeptical. Trump's lawyer said a former president could not be charged for conduct unless impeached and convicted by Congress, even if the conduct included selling military secrets or assassinating a political rival. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Also at townhall.com, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken holding talks in Israel as he seeks a plan for Gaza's post-war future. After a meeting with the Israeli foreign minister, Blinken says 4 Arab nations and Turkey have promised to help in rebuilding Gaza after the war.
I think there actually are real opportunities there, but we have to get through this very challenging moment, ensure that October 7th can never happen again, and work to build a much different and much better future.
Blinken is also trying to prevent an all-out war between Israel and Lebanon's terrorist group Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Hezbollah says it has launched a drone strike at Israel's army northern headquarters. That's in retaliation for recent strikes in Lebanon that have killed top Hamas and Hezbollah officials. The first U.S. moon landing attempt in more than 50 years is apparently doomed. That's after the private company's spacecraft developed a critical fuel leak that has dimmed hope for a planned moon landing in February. The Dow is down 177 points, but the NASDAQ ahead 19. More at townhall.com.
Donald Trump's indictment proves that saving America is not going to be easy. There are entrenched powers that are fighting this with everything they've got. They want to keep control over the country, the narrative, and the nation's money supply. Hi, I'm Lance Wallnau. I'm a news analyst, a Christian author, and evangelical leader. I speak to millions of people every week, people just like you. You see, what the elites are doing is using inflation and government handouts and now central bank digital currencies to determine how they're going to control America. And that's why I recommend all Christians start a gold IRA from the Birch Gold Group. Because physical precious metals are one of the few ways you can maintain control over your own savings. To get a free info kit on gold IRAs, text the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and you'll see why a gold IRA can help you. There are no strings attached. Text the word faith to 989898 and you're going to be blessed by
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Use caution driving this afternoon to evening. We have some more snow moving through. While accumulations are generally light for St. Louis, an inch or less, a little more to the north, and temperatures are at or above freezing, helping to melt some of this. There still could be some slick spots. Plus, we've got winds that'll be blowing this snow around. Late afternoon, evening gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour. The snow will taper off by late evening, and then we'll drop down to 26 for the overnight low. Cold but dry for Wednesday, a high near 40 degrees with mostly sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo. My partner is Katie Fitzpatrick, and we have a great show scheduled for you today. Lots going on out there and lots to talk about. How are you?
I am excellent. It's going to be a really, really good show.
It is going to be a really, really good show. We are going to get you up to speed and talk about all kinds of the latest headlines and news out there, including another check-in from our buddy Steve Templeton, chief meteorologist over at Channel 4, who joined us for a special hit yesterday to talk about the weather that was heading our way last night and into this morning. And now there is another batch of something. Snow, it looks like, heading our way this afternoon. So once again, Steve is going to join us in just about 25 minutes. So right around 2:30. And again, I love this because you read various forecasts and a lot of times they seem to be kind of changing and you don't know what is the truth or what to expect. So I love that Steve is coming on in about 25 minutes from now to give us the truth, and we'll know what to expect. We'll know what to plan for we'll know how big or little of a deal it was.
He's also been doing some things on Facebook too. KMOV Steve Templeton, he's been updating us on Facebook whenever he can. So if you guys haven't followed him on Facebook, I would encourage you to do so.
It's not an act with Steve. It's truly important to him to keep people informed.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's very serious about doing everything he can to keep people informed about the weather, especially when it's weather that can potentially be dangerous or disrupt your schedule. You know, if it's going to be school closing or road closing or anything like that, you know. So looking forward to getting that information from Steve at 2:30. Also, well, speaking of weather, usually on Tuesdays, our buddy Crane Durham joins us, but he's somewhere south right now. He's not in the St. Louis area right now, and he's dealing with some weather, and it's messing up his connection.
Mm-hmm.
So the weather is playing a role in the show today. So I don't think we're going to end up talking to Crane this afternoon, but we are going to go live to Iowa and talk to Karen Fesler a little less than an hour from now. Karen Fesler is part of the Republican Party. She's a Republican political strategist there in Iowa, and she has been somebody. She's a regular guest on the Tim Jones and Chris Harp show, which hopefully you've heard those conversations because it's tremendously informative. And she's somebody that I've talked to for years, specifically around presidential elections, because Iowa always plays such a big role in the presidential cycle, being first in the nation and all of that. The Iowa Caucus is less than a week away. Of course, we have the big debate happening tomorrow night at Drake University there in Des Moines, Iowa. We are carrying that debate between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. That will be here on News Talk STL tomorrow night from 8 to 10 p.m. So you've got the debate tomorrow. You've got the Trump town hall rally happening also tomorrow night in Iowa. Then we've got the Iowa caucus on Monday. I mean, it is like all eyes on Iowa right now. So we'll get we'll go directly there and get the feeling on the ground in Iowa. Are the polls correct? Does it look like a Donald Trump landslide from what they can tell on the ground there in Iowa, or is it going to be maybe something unexpected? We'll take the temperature when we talk to Karen here in a little less than an hour, so very much looking forward to that. Also, after that conversation at about 3:20 this afternoon, we are going to talk to the Secretary of State of Missouri, Jay Ashcroft.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's got anything to talk about these days.
Something's going on.
Holy
yeah.
moly.
Yeah.
So we'll address everything that's been going on with the Secretary when we talk to him a little more than an hour from now. Also, one of the things that I definitely want to talk to him about, and I think that he's kind of on a mission right now to spread this information. Speaking of the presidential election and the primaries and the caucuses and all of that, Missouri has changed our process this year from a primary to a caucus, and I think that comes along with, as any change would, comes along with some confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely one of the things I want to talk to Secretary Ashcroft with is, about that and what are the differences, what can people plan for, what the voters need to be aware of to make sure that they are a part of this primary process.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk to Jay Ashcroft about that and many other things.
Many other things.
So, packed show, a lot of great information to get to, a lot of great discussions to be had. And let's start with some national news. Let's go. Let's start with this one. The White House is launching a review of cabinet protocols after the defense secretary's secret hospitalization. I love that is the way it's being categorized. That's the description of what happened with Lloyd Austin last week. Secret hospitalization. Of course, we discussed this yesterday afternoon, And today, the White House is launching a review of cabinet protocols for delegating authority in the wake of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's recent secret hospitalization. A memo was sent from White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients to cabinet secretaries and directs departments and agencies to, quote, submit their agency-specific delegation of authority protocols by Friday, January 12th, that's this Friday, to the Office of Cabinet Affairs. So the administration obviously trying to at least make it look like they're addressing the debacle that happened with Lloyd Austin, but I think that that's all it is. I think this is just
optics.
For optics. Like,
You know-
oh yeah, look here. We sent a memo.
But it is.
We know how bad it was, and we sent a memo. We're clearing it up.
But it is insane, even though this is for optics and it is to shut everybody up about it. It is crazy that there was not protocol put in place before
There probably
this
was.
moment.
There probably was.
So this is just a reminder.
Or just, again, just like something that they can show to show that they're on top of it.
You know, I really messed this up in a way that I need to look at what Karine Jean-Pierre said on the podium about this. And I'm sure someone asked her about it. I need to find that. I'm sure they asked her about it yesterday, about the response, the White House, the relationship, why this happened, what happens next. There was probably some spin involved, but I'd love to hear what the heck she has to say about all of this from the podium.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a very clear answer.
Oh, yeah. Crystal clear.
I'm sure
very
it was
clear.
I'm sure it was a very honest and clear, detailed answer given by Karine.
But I honestly do wonder what happens next for Lloyd Austin. Because Dan Bongino right before us was talking about how the media sent out a report saying his surgery had to do with prostate cancer.
Yeah. And as I said yesterday, I'm sure, obviously, whatever he was going through was a big deal. And if it was prostate cancer treatment, which has been reported today, that's a very sensitive.
Oh, they're talking about it right now on Fox.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive and, important thing for his health that needs to be addressed. Nobody's attacking Lloyd Austin for having cancer.
Yeah.
We're saying that this.
You didn't follow protocol.
We're saying that the fact that the defense secretary was in ICU for multiple days and nobody knew, including the president of the United States and his own assistants, that is it's a major problem. And had, God forbid, there been some type of military crisis while that was happening, and suddenly nobody knows where the defense secretary is, that's a big problem.
Do you think it's a
that's
call?
the issue. Nobody's attacking Lloyd Austin for having cancer treatments, for God's sakes.
Do you think it's a call for resignation? Like this should be a call for resignation?
It depends. I mean, if there's not new information, if Lloyd Austin did go into ICU and either at best just didn't tell anybody, or at worst specifically said don't say anything, then that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a big mistake, and he needs to
resignation would be the
resignation.
repercussion.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, this cannot happen. And if we find out, especially that it was intentionally hidden, yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, I don't know what the process of repercussion is, or punishment, if you will, for allowing something like this to happen and not telling the people around you that need to know. But this, amongst many other things, has collectively been the problem with Lloyd Austin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't the sole bad communication.
Oh, yeah.
But this was the cherry on top of a lot of bad moves made.
Right. I think you
by
could
him.
point at almost anybody in the administration and go down a laundry list of bad decisions, bad policies. And yeah, Lloyd Austin is definitely not immune from that list.
No.
So and if he intentionally hid the fact that he was unavailable, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
What a great insightful look behind the scenes, into the federal government. As a kid, and I've talked about this before, as a kid and growing up and learning about the government, you think that congresspeople and senators and presidents and these are the smartest people. These are the best of the best. You got to be super smart and super good at everything to be elected a senator or a congressperson or president or work in the White House. That is not the case. Like as you learn and you grow and you get behind the scenes. Also, I think, on top of that, you just assume that in the federal government, they're probably always really busy and they're probably always communicating. So I would have guessed that if the Secretary of Defense all of a sudden just wasn't heard from, no matter what, for a day, let alone multiple days, somebody would notice.
Yeah.
But I guess they don't talk that often.
That's what I was saying yesterday.
How does that even happen? If I disappeared, if you disappeared for a day,
right?
People would be asking questions. Where's Katie? Where's Tony? How does the Secretary of Defense just disappear and nobody know?
That was kind of my point yesterday.
Wasn't there a meeting?
What are the relationships between Biden and these people that he elected to be
him and his staff?
Right. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah. Isn't there a briefing? Isn't there a meeting?
Yeah.
Isn't there a daily email?
No one is communicating in that White House. Nobody is communicating.
How is that even possible?
It's bad.
So I mean, what a peek behind the curtain at just how unimpressive the federal government is, at least right now. I got a couple of positive stories today. Let's see. Do I have time to do this one? What should we do?
Let's go to break. Let's
go to break, and then we'll get into them. Yeah. Biden's attack on appliances that we've well documented on this show took a big hit today. This ruling that was made that shot down one of Biden's policies is gold. Just like basically this judge just mocked the whole process and exposed it for being it's not even efficient. Like it's not only is it not necessary, but it also doesn't even do what it says it's going to do. I'll explain that. And a statue that was supposed to get torn down is actually going to stay up. That's a change of pace for once. So we'll get into all those stories. Plus, we will get that latest forecast from Steve Templeton, chief meteorologist over at Channel 4. All that next here on Colombo and Katie.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Stick it up your butt. Food and Agricultural Organization at the UN.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
The cleaning pros at Zero Res are starting the new year with an awesome offer for you, especially if your home took a beating over the holidays. If you had parties and family coming and going, maybe your carpets got trampled on, or something got spilled on the furniture. Of course, the team at Zero Res can clean any surface in your home. We have been working with them and had them clean just about every surface in our home multiple times over the years. They are absolutely the best. And right now, if you book a cleaning in the month of January, all you have to do is mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119, plus you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. What an awesome opportunity. What an awesome deal to start the year. Again, 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119, plus you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Again, all you have to do is mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in the month of January with Zero Res. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards. It spells the same. Zero Res.
Great news for my sponsor, Napoli Sea. And it's no surprise to me nor hundreds who have dined there. The first time I entered, it was clear Napoli Sea is unique. The decor, the fish, imaginative cocktails, and of course Napoli Sea is right next door to Napoli 3 in St. Charles. Napoli 2 is in Town and Country. The original Cafe Napoli is in Clayton, and I'm honored to endorse each of them. Visit any of the Cafe Napolis.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
Spin the wheel, pin the tail on the donkey, whatever it takes. Is Lloyd Austin going to remain as defense secretary or not?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Quick reminder that tomorrow night we will be covering the DeSantis-Haley debate. We'll be airing that right here on News Talk STL. As we said, the Iowa caucus is just 6 days away now. It is this coming Monday, and tomorrow night, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley will debate at Drake University there in Des Moines in Iowa, and we will be bringing that to you live from 8 to 10 p.m. American Sides 2024, and we will be your home all year long for all the most important events and headlines and information surrounding all of the elections coming our way, both locally and nationally. So it all starts with the Iowa caucus on Monday. It's going to be, I can't wait. I'm a news geek already, but elections are watching the numbers come in, like election night. That's like the peak. That's like the center of my news geekdom. I freaking love election nights.
We've had some crazy election nights.
Yeah.
We've
I love
had
the
some
big
crazy
board.
ones. Yeah.
I love all the guys tapping on the maps and zooming in on counties and bringing it like the numbers.
You can tell they're geeking out too.
Yeah. I love all that stuff, and that is about to go into full swing here. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Also, in about a half hour from now, just after 3 o'clock, we will be going live to Iowa and talking to Republican political strategist there in Iowa, Karen Fesler, who is a regular with Tim and Chris and somebody I've talked to many times over the years, and the perfect person to talk to with everything happening in Iowa right now. Should be able to give us a clear picture of what's happening there on the ground. Here's a fun story. The Bill Clinton Library deleted a post. They were trying to have a little fun, and it backfired on them big time. They deleted a post that was asking people to guess who the former president sent his first email to. So yesterday was apparently World Typing Day.
Oh,
Okay,
gosh.
right?
Enough.
Apparently, it was World Typing Day. So yesterday, the Bill Clinton Library posts on Twitter, quote, on November 7th, 1998, President Bill Clinton typed out and sent his first ever email. Can you guess who it was to? And it took about 10 seconds for the internet to internet, and the replies started just pouring in, with the vast majority saying Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, I was thinking Monica.
And some kind of commentary after, like, people were like, Jeffrey Epstein, and then like what the email was about. He was asking Jeffrey Epstein about da-da-da. He was setting up his next date with like
riding
it was
on
just
the airplane.
It was
Lolita
just
Express.
it did not go the way that the Clinton Library thought it was going to go. And they at first were trying to like edit or delete all the negative responses coming in, and then they just deleted. Then they just took the whole thing down.
I also just don't think that we need to have the Clinton presidential library tweeting or making Facebook posts. Like, I don't think we need. It's fine to have a website. Okay, I get it. But if you're telling me that has a social media presence, is that necessary? Is that a necessary thing?
And how do you not see that coming?
How
do you not see that
from
coming?
the jump? You're telling me
not a
they
good
posted
time.
Something.
Not a good
No.
time to ask for public feedback on
Opinion,
anything.
yeah, about Bill Clinton.
By the way, he was responding to an email from space that was sent by John Glenn. That's the real answer.
Okay.
That's the real answer.
Okay.
But yeah,
Interesting enough.
That post not up anymore. Had to be taken down because it backfired on the Clinton Library. All right, as we mentioned, joining us on the line again, and Steve, thanks. I hate to keep, making you put in overtime this week, but it seems like these things just keep popping up. So really appreciate your time again this afternoon, as it looks like we have another batch of something coming our way.
Yeah, and I'm happy to help. There's no problem bringing me on and spreading the word of what's going on so that people are aware. And what you really need to know is you just need to use caution on the roads this late afternoon through the evening, especially the evening commute, because that's when a band of snow showers is moving through St. Louis. Now, temperatures are going to be at or above freezing, and that may help melt some of it, but I just can't rule out some slick spots. The farther northwest you go to Troy, Bowling Green, better chance for seeing some of that stick on the pavement. But even if this doesn't stick on the pavement, it's going to be blowing around in 35 to 45 mile per hour winds, so you have the reduced visibility. So it's going to make things a little bit tricky this evening. I think mainly on grass and raised surfaces, accumulations are probably nothing to at max an inch in the metro. You go northwest of the metro, maybe get a little over an inch. Bowling Green, probably 2 to 4 inches up there. So this isn't huge accumulations. Most of it will be on the grass, but we just can't rule out some of it sticking on the pavement. And then that blowing snow and reduced visibility can cause some problems on the drive. Snow's going to taper off by about 9 o'clock, turn over to just flurries. And then we're below freezing overnight, so you do want to watch for any kind of untreated slick spots like sidewalks and driveways when you step outside tomorrow morning.
Gotcha. But as far as the snow and stuff, it's a tonight thing. It's not anything that's going to roll over into tomorrow morning.
So that's correct. Yeah, it's pretty much this evening through about 9 o'clock, and that's it. Might be a few flurries after that, but nothing will accumulate. And Wednesday's a dry day, a little brighter. We'll see some sunshine, a high near 40. And then there's another first alert weather day for Friday. That's where we try to draw your attention to impactful weather. It comes in as rain Thursday night, Friday morning, but it looks like it may switch over to snow and strong winds yet again Friday afternoon and evening. Some of the models push the track of this a little farther north where we get mostly rain, a little bit of snow, but others have the track a little farther south, which would be a few inches maybe of snow. And that could be really bad going into the Friday evening commute. So we need to watch that one closely. The difference between this Friday storm, though, is behind it, there is a major push of Arctic air. So we're going to get cold quickly Friday night. down to 16 Saturday morning, and this cold blast is going to last through the weekend into next week. I have our low at -1 Tuesday morning. Yeah, here comes
My
winter.
goodness.
Here comes winter is right.
Full
Well,
blown.
Steve, thank you as always. We'll talk to you on Friday afternoon as we do each and every week, and hopefully this is the last time that we have to go to you an extra time as
Probably not, but I'm happy to help, and I hope everyone drives safely this evening.
Well,
Thank you,
certainly
Steve.
appreciate the info and the update, Steve. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Take care, guys.
You bet.
Thank you.
Steve Templeton there, chief meteorologist over at KMOV Channel 4. And, you know, he nailed it yesterday as far as I was concerned. I had to do a little driving yesterday evening, picking up Maggie from gymnastics practice and driving back. And there was like a bunch of sloppy, wet, big snowflakes falling.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you start to worry, like, is this going to turn into something? And it ended up kind of exactly what he said. It never really got below freezing, so it wasn't like an ice situation. It wasn't an accumulation situation. And, you know, and it made me feel better that, like, okay, this is what it is, but it's not going to, doesn't look like it's going to get any worse, and you kind of can prepare and get through it. So.
I'm happy that it didn't like really stick, but then it's also that fear of like, what's the ice gonna look like? Is it icy? Is it sleet? Like, what's going on there? What's that mush gonna turn into?
Right. That's why it's always important to watch the actual temperature. You know, if it stays above freezing, you're gonna be okay. But yeah, if it would have been below freezing last night, that could have gotten a
Can
lot.
I just say really quickly, Karine Jean-Pierre just responded to what the White House believes with Austin.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, she totally deflected. We already knew she was going to say it. She deflected and said, everyone needs to go to Secretary Austin's, everyone needs to look at Secretary Austin's statement that he put out yesterday. He takes full blame for what he did, and he takes full consideration into how this affected his leadership and what this looked like for the White House. And she was like, we're okay with it. Everything's fine. We're putting robust protocols into place, the memo that you just read.
Right.
And that's what we're basing everything off of. So it was a spin cycle. It was a total spin cycle. Everybody has been asking her, who are we blaming for something like this? This looks terrible. Who do you blame for this? And she's like, oh, we don't blame him.
It's so obvious, though. Like I said before, it doesn't even need to be the federal government. Anybody at any business or family knows that you can't just disappear.
Not tell anybody.
If you have any responsibilities in life at all, at work or at home, you can't just disappear and not tell anybody. And
Karine Jean-Pierre, it looks like they did not care. They said, look at his statement. He takes full accountability for his actions, and because of this, we're putting in robust protocols moving forward. And then she's like, and that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Are we supposed to believe then, I guess, that he just didn't think to tell anybody? Like, oh, it just never occurred to me.
And everyone else is
Never
cool with it.
Never occurred to me to, call it the office.
Yeah.
And say, hey, won't be in for a couple days.
Call Biden's chief of staff or someone. Let them
And
know.
like I said before, how is it possible that nobody noticed? Do they never talk?
Bad.
Are there
So bad.
Are there no briefings, meetings, daily emails, check-ins? I mean, like
buddy checks.
How do you disappear for multiple days and have nobody notice? Well, just exposes the how weak this administration truly is. Okay, let's get back into this here. Biden, speaking of the administration, Biden's attack on appliances took a big hit today. The federal appeals court struck down the Department of Energy regulatory actions targeting dishwashers as part of the Biden administration's aggressive climate and energy efficiency agenda. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit issued a ruling late yesterday afternoon overturning the DOE's decision in 2022 to repeal a Trump-era regulation governing water use in dishwashers. The ruling said that this is the great part of it. The ruling read in part, quote, even if DOE could consider dishwashers and clothes washers efficiency in both energy use and water use, the 2020 rules likely promoted greater efficiency in both categories than the repeal rule. Assuming both energy conservation metrics are on the table, the states argue, and DOE does not appear to dispute, that one important aspect of the problem is whether appliance regulations actually reduce energy and water consumption.
Right.
Yet the administration record contains ample evidence that DOE's efficiency standards, that's the new Biden push, likely does the opposite. They make Americans use more energy and more water for the simple reason that purportedly energy-efficient appliances do not work. So not only did the court find and rule that this is unnecessary to be taking apart every freaking appliance and every part of your home, from microwaves to air conditioners to dishwashers and dryers and everything else, but it's actually worse. They're using more water and more energy and trying to pitch it all as a environmental savings package when it's the opposite.
But what I don't get is that if we get data like this proving that it's using more energy, more water, more whatever, more time, whatever the case may be.
More cost on Americans that
labor,
have to replace all of these things, or
every,
builders that have to,
5 years?
Yeah.
So if that is all proven and we have the data, then why are they still pushing it? What is the benefit of saying to the American public, dishwasher that's great for energy, and it turns out it isn't? What is the benefit for them to say that it is?
Optics. It gives them a victory. It gives them, if we don't see a ruling like this, and I don't really see this being widely discussed, if people don't know that it's actually using more water and more energy and doing exactly the opposite of what people say, if you don't know that, then the president can say, we passed these bills that are going to, save water and save energy and be good for the environment. And it gives him a success story. It gives him a victory. That's the why. And people need to know that not only is it ridiculous because of the cost involved with a lot of these things, like in replacing or building a lot of these appliances across the board, not just dishwashers, with all of these new regulations in place. They don't even do the regulations, or the new stuff doesn't even do what they say it's going to do. So it's just all a big show. It's all a big show, a big lie to make it look like the president's like getting rid of plastic straws.
Yeah.
You get rid of every single plastic straw on Earth tomorrow. Have we done anything really to save the environment? No. But everybody can say, but the people that did it can say, oh, we scored a major victory today. So if they're lying about dishwashers and why these new regulations need to go in place, if those are all lies,
what else is?
Yeah. What do you think when people start digging into the microwave regulations and the air conditioner regulations?
Oven.
Oven. Right.
So Tanya.
Gas stove.
Tanya on our live stream says there's a lot of money to be made in the green energy scam. And that's completely correct. I just think that if anybody reads this, of course, like you as an average American should be really upset. But the people that should also be upset are probably the greenies that are thinking Biden's doing something and he's fulfilled something with climate crisis, green energy, all of that jazz. Turns out it's more work and more energy and more water being used. I mean, if you were a greenie, this is something that should make your blood boil.
Well,
if you're a conservationist.
Yeah. Because Joe Biden is telling you, looking you in the eye and telling you to your face that he's on your side, and he's not. It's not even, because it doesn't save you. It doesn't do any. It's not only is it costly, which is the biggest complaint to this point, it's not even green. It's not even good for the environment.
Everything is crap. Every appliance is just gone down the hole.
Everything is crap.
Everything's crap.
That's right. And you know who's afraid of everything turning to crap? Look at that segue.
Who?
Michelle Obama.
Oh.
You see this?
I did.
Michelle Obama said that she is terrified about the 2024 presidential election. We'll explain that. I'm going to ask you, Katie, and everybody, I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on this. I have always poo-pooed the idea of Michelle Obama getting involved in the presidential race. But with this latest story comes a revived discussion and more people saying that, she's signaling. She's signaling. She's going to get in. So explain the story. We'll talk about that and more next. Also, don't forget, we're going to talk to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft and Karen Fesler live from Iowa as we go through a busy afternoon here on Colombo and Katie.
The blood is on the table and the mouths are choking.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
I'm going hungry.
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio.
From the mouths of decadence.
This is what's happening.
You don't get to declare someone guilty of a crime. Colorado to remove Donald Trump, Maine disqualified Trump. California to potentially follow suit.
101.9 and 94.1.
They always have great conversation.
News Talk STL.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at SouthernArmory.com.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. just this moment, while we were at break, there was an amazing exchange between John Kirby and Peter Doocy. The White House press briefing is happening right now in D.C., and they're talking about Lloyd Austin and the breakdown of communication within the administration. And Peter Doocy just asked. Well, you'll hear it. We've queued it up for you here. This is amazing.
And of course, there's a lot to that. The next day, on the 1st of January, President Biden convened a secure telephone conference with Mr. Sullivan, with Secretary Austin, with the Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Brown, Secretary Blinken, the DNI, the CIA Director, and other members of the team. They covered developments in the Middle East. President Biden directed the NSC, Department of Defense, and the State Department to accelerate work with allies and partners on a joint statement on the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, which was to be issued, according to the President's direction, no later than Wednesday. You saw we did that. I came to the podium and read that out. From Monday, the 1st of January, through Wednesday, the 3rd, the National Security Advisor, his deputy, Middle East Coordinator Brett McGurk, spoke repeatedly with their counterparts in multiple foreign capitals to secure the support for that joint statement. Senior NSC officials coordinated hour by hour with senior Pentagon officials who are also making phone calls and securing support from foreign partners. The President's final approval on that statement happened shortly thereafter, and as you know, it was issued on the 3rd of January. Also on the 3rd, there was a Principals Committee meeting on Haiti, and neither Secretary Austin nor General Brown attended. They were represented by deputies. That is not uncommon, that at a Principals Committee meeting, for whatever reason, the principal may not be able to attend.
Okay, thank you for all the detail on that. But more broadly, why should we believe anything that this administration tells us about anything ever again?
I think we all recognize, and I think the Pentagon has been very, very honest with themselves about the challenge to credibility by what has transpired here, and by how hard it was for them to be fully transparent with the American people. I think we all recognize that. And wait, now just give me a second now. I know you got another one coming here, but we all recognize that this didn't unfold the way it should have on so many levels, not just the notification process up the chain of command, but the transparency issues. We all recognize that. And I think we all want to make sure we learn from that. It's up to you and your colleagues, and it's up to the American people to determine, how much they're going to ascribe what happened here to our credibility on every single issue. But in every way, Secretary Austin has been an exceptional defense secretary, and he still has the full faith and confidence of the commander-in-chief. He has led the department at an incredibly dangerous time for our national security interests and those of our allies and partners.
But if the administration is going to go to such great lengths to keep secrets about the defense secretary's health, how can anybody be certain that the administration would not go to the same lengths to keep secret problems with President Biden's health in the future?
If you could logically argue, and you can't, but if you could logically argue that
He's 81 years old.
Wait a second. Just give me a second here, bub. I'll get there. If the administration made some sort of Machiavellian effort across the board to keep this from getting public, then I think your question has merit and certainly is a fair one. I don't think it's a fair one because that's not what happened here, Peter. What happened here is the Secretary of Defense, for whatever reason, I can't answer the question why, that information wasn't shared. It wasn't shared widely in the department, and it certainly wasn't shared with the interagency. It's not good. It's certainly not good, which is why, again, we want to learn from this. We want to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
We got to go around here.
Given that this was so often,
and then Karine Jean-Pierre comes in with the save and says we got to go to somebody else. That was incredible.
So great.
And I will say this about John Kirby. Karine Jean-Pierre wouldn't have even. At least John Kirby tried to answer. At least he took the questions.
Yes.
And gave an answer. They were terrible answers. But Karine Jean-Pierre would have just said, we're moving on. Or maybe even just end. We've seen her just end the press briefing when she gets a question she doesn't like. You're like, oh, you guys are, we've already addressed this and you're not being serious, so we'll see you tomorrow. Like, literally, she's done that many times.
She did it last month.
That
was a good exchange.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
Because Peter Doocy makes a great point about if the administration was able to keep this secret or lie about this to the American people in this instance, why should we have any confidence or belief that you wouldn't do the same thing about a similar situation in the future, and specifically with the health of the President of the United States? And for John Kirby to say, like, try to do the whole, like, hold on a second there, bub. Like, we're going to get to you.
Yes.
Like, for him to say, oh, that's not well, if your question was valid, which it's not, like, that was amazing and a great point by Peter Doocy. If you guys will lie and keep secrets about the defense secretary's health and capabilities at a given moment, why should we believe that you wouldn't do the same thing about the president?
And don't act like it's a stupid question to propose a what if, because this isn't a what if that's like, what if somebody very low in aid on the totem pole got sick with COVID and had to leave for a week? This isn't a what if that, like, what if Major or whatever, the dog, bit a security guard. This is a high-ranking official in the White House going in for a very heavy procedure, staying in the hospital for a long time, not notifying anybody. And the what if to that question would be, if a national security, a national defense issue happened in this time, where would we be as a country and who would we report to?
Yeah.
It's not a ho-hum question.
Right, not
it's
at all.
It's an actual legit what if.
Yeah. And again, remember, the Biden administration said at the very beginning and all throughout the campaign and when they took over, they would be the most transparent administration in history. And another huge instance of them being the exact opposite, of hiding things and not communicating and being the opposite of transparent. And that was Peter's biggest point, that you're obviously very capable and comfortable with keeping information
from us,
from the United States, from citizens. Why should we believe that if this was the president instead of the Secretary of Defense, that things would be any different? And no real answer from John Kirby. He tried, which I appreciate a whole lot more than Karine Jean-Pierre.
Right.
But not a good answer.
It's not a good answer, but I have to say that exchange of him trying to dumb down what the American public is feeling, which is, I think, the embodiment of that question that Peter Doocy asked. It's a Fox News question. It's Peter Doocy. But if you don't think the American public is like, what the heck is going on? You are obviously living in a bubble that is completely different than the rest of the United States. And to act like that's so stupid and the, hey, bub, slow it down type of attitude.
Yeah. I'm going to get to you.
It's disrespectful to the American public, I think.
Yeah. No, it most certainly is disrespectful. And I also the beginning of that was great, where Kirby's like laying out all the things, all the like the defense meetings and communications that happened the first week of January while this was all going on. And then Peter Doocy goes, well, thank you for all those details, but this has nothing to do with my question. Like, that doesn't answer anything about the transparency of keeping this secret. Like, I don't know why John Kirby thought that was, I mean, I do know why. He's just spinning and, he's deflecting. But giving a recap of every meeting that happened in the last week does not have anything to do with why did you keep this information from the public?
I also have
I don't need to know that there was a meeting last Wednesday at 8 a.m. That
Right.
has nothing to
That
do
doesn't-
with my question.
I do have one more question about this, and I know
Yep.
we've spent so much time, but has the memo actually outlined what exactly the robust protocol that they're putting into place to make sure something like this? She also, and neither did John Kirby, explain what are the actual details about what you're putting into place now.
Yeah, they just said that they are putting in new protocols. Also, interesting side note to that is Kirby once again said that he still doesn't know. He still can't answer the why did this happen. Why did Lloyd Austin make the decision to not tell anybody or to keep this secret? And he even said, like, I don't have that information. I don't know why. I don't know the why.
Great. Well, come back to us when you do know the why.
Can somebody ask Lloyd Austin why? Please, then.
Somebody call him.
Why was that decision made to not, because it was a decision that was made to not tell anybody that he was going to be
Linda in our live stream just said
unavailable.
that. The answer is why.
Yeah.
And that's funny because
he even said, I don't know why. I don't have that information. Can somebody please find out the why? What an awesome exchange. That was just moments ago at the White House. All right, we are going to go live to Iowa. The Iowa caucus is on Monday. The debate between Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis in Iowa is tomorrow night, and we will talk to Iowa Republican political strategist Karen Fesler next on Colombo and Katie.
Every day we wanted everything. Mama said, don't give up.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
I like supporting local companies that give back to the community. For more than 40 years, Vincent's Jewelers has helped raise more than $1.5 million for local charities. So I'm personally asking that when you're shopping for jewelry, give Vincent's a chance. And in turn, Vincent's will give even more to our community. On Olive, just east of 270. New specials every day on vincentsjewelers.com or Vincent's Facebook.
Where callers won't be canceled.
It's just so ridiculous and so offensive.
And we don't socially distance from differing opinions.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I haven't always agreed with you.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
This country is worth fighting for.
That's why we're canceling those season tickets. That's why we're canceling those subscriptions.
I'm just so sick and tired of it.
Disgust us.
It's insanity, man.
This is News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Doctors say Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has prostate cancer, and his recent secretive hospitalization was for surgery and later to treat a urinary tract infection related to that operation. The 70-year-old Austin was admitted to Walter Reed National Military Medical Center on December 22nd and underwent surgery to treat the cancer. A sprawling storm has hit the south with strong thunderstorms and tornado warnings. Meteorologist Mark Wool at the National Weather Service.
Brick facade of one building in Cottonwood, Alabama, has been kind of collapsed. There's several RVs and mobile homes that were tossed out of their sides or rolled in parts of Jackson County, Florida. I've seen significant damage in Panama City Beach, down in Bay County, and all the way across that county up into Youngstown as well, which is up on the northeast side.
The storm also brought cities across the Midwest to a standstill with more than half a foot of snow. Also at townhall.news.com, one of the Senate's most conservative Republicans thrown his support behind Donald Trump for re-election.
It's a pretty clear contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Senator Tom Cotton says the nation was doing well under the former president.
We had a booming economy.
But he says things have gone downhill fast over the past 3 years.
And everyone can see it. Inflation has run amok. Families can't afford their groceries.
And Cotton says an estimated 3.5 million illegals allowed to cross the border last year alone.
That is the entire population of my state, Arkansas, plus a Vermont thrown in just for good measure.
Senator Tom Cotton was interviewed on the Salem Radio Network. Bob Agnew reporting.
And on Wall Street, the Dow was down 170 points today, but the Nasdaq gained 14. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
The Dinesh D'Souza podcast, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
For the left, it's generally you open a door, and then if you notice that no one is pushing back to shut the door, you go right through it, and then you kick in the next door. If we offer no resistance, our past will basically be nothing more than a series of leftist incidents designed to overcome our past.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
On the international front, health officials in Spain are warning people about a new spike in respiratory infections, advising the public to take all the necessary safeguards, including face mask wearing, particularly in hospitals and health centers.
Public concern over the increase in viral infections are leading many people to wear masks on public transport, theatres and health centres. At Barcelona's Hospital del Mar, people are respecting the government's request. Health Minister Monica Garcia says Spain's facing a notable increase in respiratory virus infections, an upturn that's expected to continue to intensify in the coming days. She adds cases are up to 1,000 for every 100,000 people. On the streets of Madrid, many people had already decided to wear masks. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. One of the world's largest renewable energy developers will be getting hundreds of wind turbines from General Electric spinoff GE Vernova. It's part of a record equipment order and long-term service deal.
The manufacturer says the deal will deliver 674 of the towering turbines for Pattern Energy's SunZia wind project in central New Mexico. The project is to come online in 2026 and is expected to become the biggest wind farm in the Western Hemisphere. Backers say it'll eventually funnel electricity it produces across a multi-billion-dollar transmission line to populated western U.S. markets.
Correspondent Jeremy House. Firefighters scouring the wreckage of a historic Fort Worth, Texas hotel as they investigate the cause of a massive explosion that injured 21 people. One critically. Authorities believe a gas leak was to blame. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Use caution driving this afternoon to evening. We have some more snow moving through. While accumulations are generally light for St. Louis, an inch or less, a little more to the north, and temperatures are at or above freezing, helping to melt some of this. There still could be some slick spots, plus we've got winds that'll be blowing this snow around. Late afternoon, evening gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour. The snow will taper off by late evening, and then we'll drop down to 26 for the overnight low. Cold but dry for Wednesday a high near 40 degrees with mostly sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Fox News commentary.
President Joe is asking Mexico to pretty please help secure the border and stem the tide of illegal immigrants. That should do it. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Of illegals have invaded our country since Joe took office, and the vast majority have come up through Mexico. But now that approval ratings for President Joe are tanking, he wants Mexico to help stem the tide of illegals passing through. Well, maybe if he asked pretty please with a cherry on top, that would do the trick. Now, instead, Mexico is making its own list of demands that includes 12 to Latin and Caribbean countries, all sanctions removed from Venezuela, and for at least 10 million Hispanics living in the U.S. to be allowed to stay and work. You know, back in the days of President Trump, Mexico would not be so bold. Instead of kowtowing to Mexico, he threatened a tariff if they didn't do their part. But we have a weak leader now in Joe Biden who will be walked all over, just like our national sovereignty. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't know where I would get the truth if it weren't for you.
Live and local.
Welcome to the People's Republic of America stand. Here comes another roller coaster, another circus.
This is News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. We are going to go live to Iowa and talk to Republican political strategist there in Iowa, Karen Fesler, in just a moment. I want to remind you, if you missed anything from that first hour, to make sure that you are subscribed to the Colombo and Katie podcast, because we put out the show as a podcast every day right after we get off the air, and we put it on basically every podcast platform. So if you're subscribed, you'll never miss anything that happens here on the show. Also, here in just about 15 minutes, we're going to talk to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. There's a host of things to talk to the Secretary about, so very much looking forward to that conversation. And, of course, all eyes on the state of Iowa right now. The Iowa caucus is less than a week away. Tomorrow night, Trump is holding a rally in Iowa, and Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley will be debating at Drake University in Des Moines. We'll be carrying that debate live here on News Talk STL from 8 to 10 p.m., and so that is why it is a perfect day to have Karen Fesler on with us. Karen, thank you, as always, for your time. And, I mean, I feel like things are busy here in Missouri in the news every day. I would imagine that it is crazy time there in Iowa. So thanks, as always, for being with us. How are you?
Hi, Tony. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. It's good. Everything's good.
Good deal. Good deal. So, we've talked to Karen many times over the years. You can hear her as a regular also with Tim Jones and Chris Arps here on News Talk STL. And Karen, with the debate and rally tomorrow, and then the Iowa caucus on Monday. Before we get into specifics of the candidates in general, are the people, the voters in Iowa, motivated? Do you feel like there's going to be strong turnout, a lot of participation in the caucuses on Monday?
There have been some projections that, we could have up to 200,000 people participate in the caucus. I don't think we're going to make that. But the 2016 caucus, we had over 160,000 participants, and I think we're easily going to make that. So there's going to be very, very good participation.
For people that don't keep up with politics, I don't think that people realize just how busy the state of Iowa is and how much time and money and campaigning is spent. I am sure that you have seen every big politician in the country over the last year or so. And what has that been like specifically here in the last couple weeks, being crunch time before the caucus?
Well, the surrogates are coming in. Governor DeSantis has his surrogates here. Congressman Chip Roy from Texas and Congressman Massey are both here. In fact, they're sort of holding the fort for the governor because he had to go back to Florida to open his legislative session because he still is the governor of Florida. And Mrs. DeSantis stayed here in Iowa, and she's doing events up here as well. Donald Trump had some surrogates who were supposed to be here. Roseanne Barr was coming in, and also Governor Mike and Governor Sarah Huckabee were coming. But the weather up here has precluded them from being able to get here for their event. So, it's been very, very busy. I was going to go to the event with Roseanne Barr. I was looking forward to that this afternoon, but that event got canceled. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of activity, and they're working the state, and it's going to be a very, very busy 6 days. The candidates will work up until 7:00 Monday night when the caucuses all gavel in. So.
Do you think we will have on Monday night? Will we have some result? These days, it used to. Election night used to mean that you would go to bed with results. It's not necessarily always the case anymore in certain states. Do you expect to have a lot of that information in by the time we're all going to bed on Monday night?
I think so. The Republican Party of Iowa's goal is to have the results ready for the 10 p.m. news.
No.
So, remember, a caucus is it's a small group of people, and the votes are counted right there. We don't have to, won't have any hanging chads or any machines that, don't work correctly. It's all, paper and pencil stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, the votes get counted. A representative from each campaign is there watching as the votes get counted, and it all gets reported back to Des Moines. And like I said, their goal is to have it for the 10 o'clock news, if not sooner.
So all the polling, if you go to like a website like Real Clear Politics and look at the most recent polling or the conglomeration of all of it, continues to show a massive lead for President Trump. Of course, the campaigns of Governor DeSantis and Nikki Haley are saying that those polls are not the case, and it's a lot closer than those polls indicate. I'm not asking you to predict results, but do you expect it to be closer than what has been reported by those polls, or do you think there could be a wide margin of victory on Monday?
I really expect it to be a lot closer than what the polls are showing.
Yeah.
One of the things I was reading through the last Des Moines Register poll, which came out the middle of December, and when you look at the crosstabs on that, what they didn't report, what you don't hear on Fox and Newsmax and every place else, is that 50% of the people that were polled were still undecided.
Oh, wow.
So, that's a big chunk of people.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Karen, when we talk about 50% of people voting that are undecided, how hopeful should someone like Nikki Haley or how hopeful should someone like a Ron DeSantis feel? Because the polling for, I guess I would even qualify them as the number twos in the race, those have been all over the place as well. So what does that mean for a Nikki Haley or a Ron DeSantis?
Well, I think it means that, they still have they both still have very viable campaigns. Mm-hmm. And there typically always are 3 tickets out of Iowa. And you can ask President Huckabee and President Santorum and President Cruz how winning the Iowa caucus helped their campaign. So anyway, but I'm just saying, I think they have every reason to be hopeful that they will do well in this caucus.
Talking to
I
Karen.
saw some data this morning that when George W. Bush ran here in 2000, he only got like 42% of the vote.
Oh,
really?
goodness.
And
Wow.
he was a shoo-in from the moment he announced.
Yeah. Talking to Karen Fesler, Iowa Republican political strategist, about the Iowa caucus coming up on Monday. I can't believe that we are finally here at this point on the calendar where we're going to finally start the election process. It kind of to tail on to Katie's question there, Karen, do you feel the momentum on the ground there? Do you feel like one or maybe a couple of these candidates' messages are breaking through more than another? Like just temperature of the air. Who's got the wind at their back?
I think that the three front runners, President Trump, Governor DeSantis, Ambassador Haley, all three of them have run fairly good campaigns. President Trump hasn't been here as much as he probably should have been, but he really ramped it up this past weekend and went across the state doing rallies. And, this is when people have started to pay attention. We're through with the holidays. The football championship has been decided. So, for the next week, people here in Iowa who are so inclined to do this are going to start focusing. And I know the numbers are growing at the events. Governor DeSantis the other day, or I think it was Sunday, made a stop in just a restaurant. It was announced he was just going to stop there for a meet and greet. Had over 300 people show up to see him.
Wow.
And those are good signs to have.
Karen, when we talk
this morning, Ambassador Haley had a fair crowd. I mean, we're in the middle of a major snowstorm up here. Most of the state is covered with a foot of snow. But she had an event and had about 50 people show up this morning. So, that's something, in that way, too.
Karen, you must have read my mind, because what I really wanted to talk to you about was the size of these rallies, the size of the events that we're seeing right now play out on national television. Whenever Trump usually rallies, it's a concert. It's humongous. It looks like he's selling out thousands of seats. Is that kind of what's happening in Iowa still to this day? I mean, the smaller events are still very, very significant. But when you look at Trump and whenever he does his campaign rallies, are we still seeing that gusto and that momentum happening that used to be a huge fanfare event that was behind Trump?
One of the things that I'm finding with President Trump with his venues, he's going to much smaller venues here than some of the venues he's done. Of course, you're not going to do an outdoor rally in Iowa in January, so he is having to move indoors. But I know he was in Clinton, Iowa, over the weekend, which is on the eastern part of the state. It's right along the Mississippi River. It's not a huge town, huge city, and the venue that they had there. And from what I was told, he had about, 500 people and almost that much outside who couldn't get in. So, I think, he has those same kind of mega rallies. I still think a lot of the people that are going to Trump events are going, for curiosity more than anything else.
Kind of like what you addressed right at the beginning. It does sound like there is a lot of excitement, and hopefully that translates into a lot of participation on Monday. You mentioned the weather a couple of times. Is it a possibility that the weather plays a role, probably in maybe the debate and the rallies tomorrow, but any reason to believe that the weather could play a role on Monday?
It's going to be cold Monday. It's going to be below zero in the morning, and then I think it's going to get up to a balmy 10 degrees at night.
Right.
But, we're used to that here. That's, and look, I'm a St. Louis girl, born and raised. I've only lived in Iowa for 30 years, and for the last 30 winters, I've complained to my husband about the cold Iowa winter. But anyway, no, I think for the most part, Iowans are going to show up and do what we're known for doing, and that is start the process. We are first in the nation. We take that very seriously, and it's very important to us, and we're very proud of it. And so they will show up on Monday night.
Karen, really appreciate your time as always and the insight on the ground there in the state of Iowa. And I would imagine that we will be talking to you again soon, maybe on Monday or next week as we digest the results from the Iowa caucus. And you'll be able to hear Karen again tomorrow afternoon with Tim and Chris. So really appreciate all of the information that you provide us here at News Talk STL. Have a great rest of your day, my friend.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Katie. Great to talk to you.
You bet. Back
Thank
at
you.
Great stuff there from Karen Fesler. And you know, that big takeaway for me from that conversation, from that most recent poll down there, that when she said that 50% of the voters still reported as undecided, that puts a whole lot more impetus on Trump's rally tomorrow and the debate tomorrow between DeSantis and Haley.
Mm-hmm.
If there are if half the Republican voters in the state of Iowa are still undecided, you know, we were talking yesterday about has everybody, you know, what is the impact of this debate tomorrow? Have people made up their minds, and is it, you know, too late for one of these candidates to break through? Maybe that is the case in some places, but it doesn't sound like that's the case in Iowa. So
not at all. I mean, I'm shocked.
Yeah, that
too.
puts a lot more. That puts a lot more importance on the performance of Haley and DeSantis tomorrow, and you know whatever Trump does at his.
How many people have been
rally.
left out of the polls too? Now
Yeah.
we have these measurements of the polls. I mean,
That's super interesting.
how many people have been left out?
Yeah.
Man.
Again, we'll be carrying that debate tomorrow night, starting at 8 o'clock, 8 to 10 tomorrow night. Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis debating at Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and you can hear it live here on News Talk STL. All right, we are going to switch from Iowa back here to the state of Missouri, and we're going to talk to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. He joins us next on Colombo and Katie.
Changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
President Biden says, I am not going to fire Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. If he gives me his resignation, I won't accept it. Well, in the meantime, Congresswoman Stefanik is echoing what I think should happen, and that is Austin should resign. Why? He was AWOL for several days. No one apparently knew where he was, including the president. Here's the timeline. December 22nd, he went in for elective surgery. I don't know who knew or didn't know at that point. All we do know is Monday, January 1, he went back to Walter Reed Hospital with some kind of pain, went into ICU, intensive care, which means apparently he was not capable of making any decisions. It wasn't until the next day that his deputy assistant was told, you might be needed. But then they said, oh, no, it's okay. He's going to be all right. The president was not told until Thursday. Friday, senior Defense Department officials and members of Congress were told Austin had been missing, not in action during those days. So Biden does not want to fire and get rid of Austin. Well, that just proves to me there's someone else that needs to be fired.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
It's been a very busy year for Wellington Environmental. Tom and his staff had traveled all over making sure that minor issues don't become major disasters. Then there are other times Wellington is called in for emergencies, but nothing Wellington hasn't seen before. They have certified inspectors, chemists, scientists, environmental planners, and that's just some of their expertise.
That is why the St. Louis Business Journal gave Wellington such a high ranking. So what will 2024 bring? No one knows, but if you take time to visit the Wellington Environmental Facebook, you're going to see things that might explain health issues at your home or business, affecting you, your family, clients. Wellington Environmental Facebook. Tom Wellington and the entire staff wish you a blessed 2024. Your world, cleaner, better, safer. So, as always, be well with Wellington.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator.
So it's been my belief for some time that we should be financing or supporting them with a view towards getting an acceptable settlement that would then include Ukraine eventually entering NATO. But that requires real purpose and planning and direction from the executive branch, and we haven't had it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Because some Democrats are trying to throw Donald Trump off the ballot, should Republicans do the same to Joe Biden? On Wednesday, we're talking to State Senator Bill Eigel about that.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
Into the unknown, into the unknown, into the unknown.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Great information live from the ground there in Iowa from Karen Fesler in that last segment. Again, if you want to make sure that you never miss anything, all the great conversations that we have here on Colombo and Katie, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. The perfect New Year's resolution. We put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day and on every podcast platform. So whatever your favorite platform is, just make sure you are subscribed to Colombo and Katie, and you'll never miss any of the great conversations that we have with big names like the Secretary of State of the state of Missouri, Jay Ashcroft, who is on the line with us now. Mr. Secretary, really appreciate your time this afternoon, as always. Anything going on with you recently?
No, nothing going on. Not at all. Just trying to move Missouri forward and fighting the forces of evil to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet, as always. And first, let me just say that I am very happy to have to know that after what happened to you and your family over the weekend with the swatting incident, that everybody is okay. That I think that by and large, the general public is not fully aware of what that action is. And, when you give it a little name like swatting, people can just, they assign whatever, description to that they want. And I think many people don't realize just how intense and just how dangerous those types of situations can be. So it's really good to know that you guys are safe and everything after that situation.
Well, it wasn't a good situation. It's a situation that I would hope no Missourians would go through. But the bright part about it was that the Jefferson City Police Department did a phenomenal job. They were professional. They were firm. They were calm. They were a lot calmer than I was. And I'm just so thankful that we have a well-trained police force that would deal with something the way they did. And I'm sorry they had to. I'm sorry that someone called in and said that I'd shot and killed my wife and shot some of my kids. And, I really worry about the fact that there were other people that needed the police when they thought they had to come to my house to stop a very violent situation. But really thankful for how the Jeff City Police handled it.
Yeah, and as we were talking about yesterday, this swatting, this action has been and kind of started on the internet, particularly with live streamers on websites like YouTube and Twitch, and people trying to watch a live stream and call the police and get take, I guess, some kind of pleasure in watching their something that they did play out live on a live stream. So it's kind of been in that internet culture is where this started. it's very scary to me. And again, dangerous that this is now crossing over into a more mainstream action. And I know it's very difficult to track these people, but when we do catch them, I certainly hope that the maximum force of the law is brought down on people who commit these actions, because people can get killed from swatting, and they have been killed, and so we need to stop it.
The person that's swatted can get hurt, and then if police think they're going to a swatted incident and yet it truly is a real hostile situation, they might get hurt. So it is dangerous for both police officers and for the people who are swatted.
Yeah. Talking to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, also wanted to talk to you about you're in the headlines today after an interview on CNN yesterday, and I think that having seen the interview and read a lot of the stories, there's a lot of misinformation, at least in my opinion, a description of events that isn't quite accurate. There's other things I want to talk to you about as we go through this conversation, so I just want to kind of speed through some of these, but I'm sure that you have seen that same reaction throughout the day. I just wanted to kind of clear up some of the maybe misconceptions about that. When it comes to the presidential ballot in the state of Missouri, this conversation that we've seen play out in Colorado and Maine and other states about taking Donald Trump off the ballot and the legality of all of that. What is your opinion of that, and whether that should be happening or not throughout the country and, of course, in the state of Missouri?
I think it's terrible. I think that what Maine did, what Colorado did were terrible. They took an individual off the ballot without due process. That should never happen. Secretaries of state, election authorities should not be able to make that decision. That decision should have to be made in a court of law with due process. And that's why the Supreme Court has to step in and stop this. Because if they don't, then that same standard will be applied equally to Republicans and Democrats, and that's not good for our country.
A lot of headlines say that you have threatened to take Joe Biden off the ballot in the state of Missouri. Is that true? And what is your opinion in that regard?
All I have said is that if those are the rules that we play by, if the Supreme Court says no, as a Secretary of State, you have a responsibility to take people off the ballot just because of allegations, then it's not going to stop with Donald Trump. It's going to be applied to everyone equally, and we will all regret that maneuver.
Yeah.
We should not have Secretaries of State doing that, and we should not remove people based on allegations alone.
I think it's so important to clear that up, because, when you say something like, hey, if Secretaries of State can remove a presidential candidate due to allegations, what's to stop me or any other Secretary of State of taking Joe Biden off the ballot? And that is a much different statement. And I'm not saying that's exactly what you said, but that is a much different statement and a much different opinion than threatening to remove a candidate from the ballot. Those are two very different things, in my opinion.
Well, I think it shows how wrong what they did to Donald Trump is when the liberals and the Democrats, well, no, you can't use that same standard on us. No, that's the point of our government. We're supposed to have the same standard for everyone.
Mr. Secretary, whenever we look at things like the word impeachment, when we look at the things like insurrection, we're seeing a lot of the Democrats use this language. In fact, I saw a clip of AOC on one of the Sunday morning shows, I believe it was on MSNBC, saying that now Republicans are weaponizing the idea of impeachment when it comes to President Biden. What are your thoughts on someone like AOC having the audacity to say something like this?
Well, she has no credibility. She has no sense of right and wrong. This is someone that has been in league with supporting Palestinian terrorists over Jewish civilians that just want to live in peace. It is scary that she has been elected to Congress, but unfortunately, I think she actually represents the part of New York she comes from.
Mr. Secretary, right before we were talking to you, we were talking to our friend Karen Fesler. who is a Republican political strategist in the state of Iowa. Of course, the Iowa Caucus is just days away, and for I think a lot of people across the country, the only time that they say the word caucus or even think about caucusing is when we're talking about the Iowa Caucus. But there is that is going to be the new primary system here in the state of Missouri. And I know that that you are on a mission to make sure that voters across the state are informed and understand what is happening with our primary process this week or this year. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to get that message out and get that information to the people listening.
Well, I really appreciate it. The Missouri State Senate in 2022 amended the election bill to get rid of the presidential preference primary. So this year, the state will not be running the selection process for the presidential nominees. That will be done individually by whatever rules they create by the Missouri Republican Party, the Missouri Democrat Party, and the Missouri Libertarian Party. We have contact information for all of those parties up on our website and a little bit of information that they have sent us about how they will be choosing their presidential nominees. I want to encourage every Missourian to reach out to which of those parties pertains to them to find out how they can be involved. The first involvement possible is for Republicans on March 2nd. Democrats are meeting after the Republicans about 2/3 of the way through March. But I want the people of Missouri to call the statewide organizations, find out how they can be involved, and make sure their voice is heard and they're part of picking the next president of the United States.
Yeah, and you know, especially right now, as we were talking to Karen, as we've talked to people across the country, I think that more and more people are participating and voting in primaries and you know, being politically active. And one of the things that I think is a worry or maybe a allegation when it comes to caucuses is that it limits participation. And again, I know this was not your decision. This isn't something that you did or even necessarily supported. But you're also, you know, talking to voters on a regular basis. What has been what was the reason for this switch, and how are Missouri citizens reacting to it? Are they excited about it?
Yeah, I think it was done. There were concerns about the fact that Democrats could vote in the Republican primary and Republicans could vote in the Democrat primary, and vice versa with the Libertarian Party. So I think there were people that liked the idea of having a caucus where Republicans voted in the Republican selection process, Democrats in the Democrat process. I think they liked the idea of saving $10 million for the taxpayers. There were concerns about when the races were. We had the presidential primary and the municipal elections were close enough together that caused problems. I think there was also a hope that if we moved the selection process forward, it's right now before Super Tuesday, that presidential candidates would say, hey, we need to go to Missouri to get those delegates. The hope was that it would make Missouri more important in the process. Having said that, I don't think that that's been messaged well by the parties or by the Senate really that pushed this change. I do think there are concerns about whether or not people will be able to participate. You know, if you're one of our finest young men or women that Uncle Sam has sent across the world, how do you participate in a caucus as opposed to a primary? So I think there will be a lot of discussion after this to decide if this is the direction we want Missouri to continue in, or if we want to move back to a primary and actually make it a primary where the people's votes pick the actual delegates.
Almost out of time, so I hope we can get you back on sometime really soon. We're talking to Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. Last question for now. I know that obviously election integrity has been a big conversation throughout the country, and it's something that you have worked very hard on here in the state of Missouri. Are there any changes or any information in that regard that people should know about that that it affects this coming election that maybe wasn't a part of previous ones?
You know, there haven't been any new changes since 2022, but I've talked to legislators that are interested in helping us to make our audit process stronger to make sure that from a statutory standpoint, when we do those audits, that has to be a hand count of the ballots. We've looked at making voter registrations expire. We're looking at trying to require citizenship proof of citizenship to register and to vote. All sorts of things like that we can do to make our elections more secure and have Missouri continue to lead the nation as the gold standard for elections.
And what is the best way for people to keep up with everything that you're working on there in your office, and also obviously with the campaign? If they want to keep up with Jay Ashcroft, how do they do it?
On the official side, Missouri MOSOS, Missouri Secretary of State, or sos.mo.gov. On the unofficial side, Ashcroft for Missouri, or at J. Ashcroft Mo. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, and I'll make sure to tell Vic Porcelli that you once again said that I was your favorite Italian here at News Talk.
Just wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thanks for your time. Hope to talk to you
you.
again soon. Thank you. Great stuff there from the Secretary of State. And, man, we got through a lot there.
Oh, my gosh.
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah, he's been very busy. There's a lot happening with him.
Yeah, I'm glad that we talked about that interview. What perfect timing to have him on right after that interview yesterday, because I'm not saying it was a great interview on either side, but a lot of the reports that are out there, and there are a lot, are not a true characterization of that conversation or what happened. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Colombo and Katie back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Don't forget to keep it right here for the O'Reilly Report next. Then the Tim Jones and Chris Harp Show at 4, and then Larry Connors USA at 6. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for lifetime permanent final expense insurance coverage with no medical exam required.
Just answer a few health questions, and once accepted,